Happy Arvo. Hello. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me today for how Medicare-For-All works in Australia. Let's go. I woke up today and I was like, I want to feel bad about my healthcare system. I mean, I already feel bad about it every day I go to sleep. But this morning I woke up and I was like, you know, I don't feel too bad about it right now. I need to watch a video about Australia's healthcare to make me feel bad.
The 2020 Democratic primaries are in full swing as the candidates argue over the best.
This is a video, by the way, by CNBC, a small and up-and-coming YouTube channel. Go check them out. Link down below.
Way to approach policy. One of the biggest policy divides, the role of private health insurance.
We have got to pass a
Sad thing is that no one even talks about this anymore. In this upcoming 2024 election, for presidential election, I don't even think this is on the list of subjects anyone cares about, because everything else is so screwed up as far as inflation and war and everything, to where no one even, you know, how convenient, no one even talks about the American healthcare system.
Medicare-For-All single-payer system.
Private insurance is not working for tens of millions of Americans.
The quickest, fastest way to do it is build on Obamacare.
Many countries around the world provide government-funded universal health care while offering secondary private
It must be nice.
insurance. One country that's frequently overlooked, Australia. So how well does Australia's system work compared to U.S. healthcare?
Probably a lot better. Or at least it doesn't bankrupt you, probably.
2017, Australia is estimated to have spent 9.2% of its GDP on healthcare, while the U.S. spent nearly twice that at 7.
I mean, that's still a large amount, but holy crap.
17.1%. In other words, Australia spends about 5,000 USD per person, while the US spends over 10,000.
How insane is that? $10,000 per person every year? What?
Despite spending about half the money, Australia has better or
And then so many people like myself, I don't even go to the doctor. Like, oh my God. It blows my mind.
comparable health outcomes to the US. The average life expectancy in Australia is 4 years higher than the US.
I didn't know that.
And
That is embarrassing. 82. You guys live 4 years longer.
And Australia's infant mortality rate is lower. Additionally, the maternal mortality rate in America is nearly 5 times higher than in Australia.
Maternal? Like, wait. What does that mean? Like the mom passing away during birth? Or the child? Must be the mom.
Australia's healthcare system is sustained by a publicly funded universal health insurance network called Medicare. Australians can also purchase...
Oh, I didn't remember it's the same name, Medicare. Because we have Medicare here in America, but it's just for old people.
private health insurance to cover hospital treatments or services that Medicare doesn't cover, such as dental or vision. But private insurance in Australia isn't meant to replace Medicare.
I think it's a bit of a given that if you make above a certain amount, you just have to kind of hold your nose and buy in.
That's Dr. Elizabeth Bates. She's an American who now lives and works in Tasmania, Australia. She did
So you're not mandated to buy the extra insurance.
her medical training in both countries. For full disclosure, Dr. Bates' husband worked with the Australian government to help digitize citizens' health records.
I hear more from people that are going through the public system a bit of, well, even if I'm not a private patient, ... So there's always that fear, I think, that people won't be treated as well, which I don't think really plays out.
Most Australians with private insurance
Weird.
receive a government rebate to help cover their monthly premiums. Also,
Hold up. Even for the private insurance, you get a monthly rebate to help.
most Australians with private insurance receive a government rebate to help cover their monthly premiums. Also, if Australians purchase hospital coverage before age 31, they avoid an extra charge on private insurance premiums for the rest of their lives.
Wow. The rest of their lives. Wow. So you pretty much have to do it when you're 30.
Under Australian Medicare, doctors can set their own prices. However, many follow the Australian Medical Association's list of suggested fees. If a doctor charges more than the Medicare standard fee, the patient is responsible for the difference. These out-of-pocket costs are known as a medical gap, similar to a copay in the U.S. So how does this healthcare scheme stack up against the U.S.?
So do you just not go to those doctors?
when it comes to the chronically ill patients who use the system the most. Crescenda Keith, an American citizen, and Kirsty Wilkinson in Australia both live with a rare condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is also known by its initials EDS. The symptoms can vary in severity depending on the individual, making it difficult to characterize.
It's a continuum. Some people have it to where it doesn't affect their day-to-day life, and some people I know are completely bedridden.
Crescenda has changed insurance statuses several times over the years, going from private insurance that offered comprehensive coverage to no insurance to the government-funded system for low-income Americans called Medicaid.
Going through with the private insurance, it was incredibly easy to get something as simple as a geneticist to diagnose me as opposed to
I mean, at least we have Medicaid. It's just kind of funny because it's like the people on Medicaid, half of them are like, you know, how'd you end up on Medicaid? Well, I went bankrupt because of my health insurance. So now that I'm poor, they pay for my health insurance.
incredibly easy to get something as
Only
simple
they had paid for it before you went bankrupt.
as a geneticist to diagnose me as opposed to a primary care doctor and a rheumatologist, which was amazing. And it actually, because I had racked up so many bills trying to figure out what was going on, that the geneticist, I had no copay, no nothing.
But Crescenda ended up going from having private insurance to having none at all.
To go from that to having nothing is shocking. I did better waiting until I was so sick that they had to admit me to the hospital and seeing the specialists in there and just racking up those bills, which the hospital ends up writing off anyway.
After a few years of being uninsured,
really?
Crescenda was able to get on Medicaid after
Yeah, being uninsured is a weird thing here in America. Like, it's extremely scary. I was uninsured for a long time, and it's like kind of scary, but you're basically just rolling the dice. It's like, well, I'm young, I don't have any health problems. We'll see what happens. But also, when you do go to the doctors, there's all sorts of weird stuff. Like, sometimes some hospitals will help you out, pay things, or give you a cheaper rate.
after a long process with a lot of bureaucratic hiccups.
But it'll still bankrupt you. Don't get me wrong.
Recently I was approved for Medicaid, which I thought was going to be the best thing ever. That opens the door to a primary care and opens the door to specialists. The specialists are not even in the area. You give me an hour drive to get to a doctor, that's absolutely inaccessible. And at that point, you're kind of like, well, I wish I just had no insurance, because that little aspect of hope is sometimes worse than accepting the fact that you have no hope. We're looking into filing bankruptcy, because a lot of the medical bills, even though I was low income, for some reason they still went to collection, even though I contacted people. Even some of the medical bills from when I had good insurance, where I was supposed to have no copay, are now in collections because I didn't know about them and I was moving.
Because the insurance companies will do any weird, under-table, twisty, shadowy moves to get you to not cover your bills. That's what they'll do.
By comparison, Kirsty's insurance coverage has been more consistent over her lifetime. She chose to buy private insurance to help cover her expenses. She thinks that investing in private insurance in Australia is worth the extra cost for convenience and peace
So how much is the extra cost?
of mind.
For me, while I'm
On
in
average.
private, is you get choice of doctors. Choose when you have treatment, which is a big plus, because in the public system, you can be waiting months. If I didn't have private cover, I think I'd be up for a lot more. Because what some people say is that you should just put the money aside, but the thing is, you don't know what's around the corner.
I'm a huge fan of universal healthcare coverage, but nothing in this world is perfect. If somebody's got an acute problem here, they can get in very quickly, but if it's just sort of a just-in-case safety check, there's a very long wait through the public system, and that makes me nervous, because we know the reason we do universal screening is somebody out there's going to have a cancer sitting there quietly, and I would really like them to find that out before it causes a problem and spreads.
Kirsty finds that
So are you guys pretty happy with your health insurance, or do you wish it was just fully universal? It sounds pretty nice to me. I mean, I don't know what was just going on in my household. I'm not sure if you could hear that. Anyway, no matter how you cut it, you guys are spending half as much money as we are per capita. So that's unbelievable. And you have better stats as far as life expectancy. Unbelievable. So stupid. Wow.
Her costs may vary depending on her physician and treatment. Some of her doctors take into consideration that she's a long-term patient on government disability.
Because I'm on the disability support pension, and the hospital I go to, generally, they actually bulk bill. And the clinic I go to for my MRIs on my knee, for example, they actually bulk bill because I'm referred by a specialist. It really depends on, I think, your doctors in terms of how much they charge you. I mean, there are doctors out there who charge a lot more than others.
It's weird. Are they better than the other doctors? I will say, at least here in America, the only good thing I can say is that for the most part, I have had good experiences. I say that, but I think of all the times I haven't, like me and my family. But for the most part, the healthcare system is a pleasant experience, apart from when they bill you.
Americans and Australians tend to have...
I mean, you'll still have to wait in a emergency room for 5 hours, though, sometimes.
Many of the same opinions surrounding the effectiveness of their healthcare systems. Around 45% of people in both countries are concerned that their medical costs will increase over the next decade.
Only 45%? I mean, here in America, how could you ever not be concerned about that? If you're not concerned about that, then you're just not thinking about it, which is fine. I try not to think about it too much because it's not really something you can do anything about.
People in both countries are concerned that their medical costs will increase over the next decade. There are some differences, though. While both Australians and Americans rank the cost of accessing treatment among the top 3 problems facing their country's healthcare system, only 38% of Australians felt that way, as opposed to 64% of Americans. Australians were evenly split on the biggest issue between cost, staff shortages, wait times, and an age...
Wait, why are all those percentages the same in Australia?
Evenly split on the...
Hold on. I'm interested in this graph, but it's... Okay, so blue is Australia, and for almost every single thing, 37% said not enough staff, long wait times, aging population, bureaucracy. So interestingly, in the U.S., the cost is the main complaint, and then the bureaucracy kind of goes hand in hand with that. But the rest, like not enough staff, that's not a complaint. Long wait times, not a complaint. Aging population. Oh, biggest problem. Okay.
Differences, though. While both Australians and Americans rank the cost of accessing treatment among the top 3 problems facing their country's healthcare system, only 38% of Australians felt that way, as opposed to 64%.
Yeah, that's like a big difference. It's almost half as many.
Of Americans. Australians were evenly split on the biggest issue between cost, staff shortages, wait times, and an aging population. A big difference between the countries is that only 4% of Australians feel that their country's healthcare system needs to be completely rebuilt, while about 23% of Americans feel that way.
Wow. A whole quarter of the country thinks it needs to be rebuilt. I mean, I kind of agree.
Crescenda and Kirsty's experiences show that both...
At least financially rebuilt.
Both the American and Australian systems have their problems. But the Australian system does offer more consistency thanks to basic universal coverage.
I think, we're really lucky to have this system.
In a first world country, it just makes sense to me. Of course you offer all your citizens basic coverage. Basic health coverage. I mean, come on.
We have in Australia. I think Medicare does...
What good are they? Like, the government is... what else good are they for? Protect you? And that means your health, too. It's like the least they could do is basic coverage.
Make it, even though you might only get half back or whatever when you're seeing doctors, at least you get something back.
That was a good video. Go check out CNBC, small and up-and-coming YouTube channel. Link down below. I did like that video. That was interesting. Oh, boy. Healthcare. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Arvo. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.